Hi guys, this is Emily Cupelli, and for today's card I will start using my stitch journaling card die set from Fawn to die a rectangle from some folded white cardstock. I will place the die so that the upper edge doesn't cut the paper and both rectangles keep attached. Since the folded cardstock was very thick, the die didn't cut completely through the second layer, so I will finish cutting it with my scissors. But you could also use a shim to make more pressure or simply use a thinner cardstock for this part. Now I'll add some tumbled glass distress ink to the bottom of it and will leave the upper part white, creating an ombre effect. I already die cut a snow hill which I'm using to make sure you can see the blue above it. Also, I die cut the same stitch journaling card from the front of my card base and will add the tumbled glass to the bottom of it as well, using the rectangle I already colored as a reference to make the color looks continuous. To blend very well the ink, I'm using my round blending tool. I will not even bother to color the lowest part of my card front because it will be covered with another snow hill. Before I forget and stick the acetate to the front of my card, I will use the window as a guide to glue the little note card inside my card with liquid glue. This way, it will be perfectly aligned. Now I will glue both snow hills, the one that goes inside the card and the one that goes outside of the card. You could glue these hills later, after you make the checker part. I simply decided to glue them now. For my critters, I will use some old and new stamp sets from Fawn. They are the Snow Day, Happy Wedding, Winter Owl, and Winter Alpaca stamp sets. I started stamping the solid tree using my archival ink in Viridian, which is a minty green. Then I die cut it with the coordinating die and added some stickles in gold. I'm adding the stickles to each of the white dots in the image. Doing this first allows it to dry while I make the rest of the card. I die cut the twig from the Winter Sparrows die set, and I'm coloring it with my Encore ink pad in gold. You can also use your distress stain, gel pen, or any other gold medium you may have to color it. This was just an easy way for me to color it right now. I also made sure to color the edges of it. To color my critters, I used my distress inks in pumice stone, abandoned coral, frayed burlap, tumbled glass, and crushed pistachio. I tried to keep them all within just a few different colors. I colored them as I usually do, using my distress inks as watercolors. So now I'll put some music and catch up with you once I finish coloring all my images. Now that I have all my images colored, which I already either fussy cut or die cut before the coloring, I'll stamp the 3 hearts stamp on my owl's scarf using my Encore ink pad in gold. Then I'll fill the hearts using my gold gel pen, as well as the peak of the owl. We'll also color the flower in the 2 birds and their peaks, and we'll draw some diagonal lines in the alpaca's scarf. I fussy cut this little scarf from another alpaca I stamped, for which I'm going with my black marker all around it, and will glue it right over the bunny to give him a pretty scarf as well. On his scarf, we'll draw some dots. You could have stamped the scarf over the bunny using some masking, but I thought this was easier for the die cutting of the bunny. Using my black gel pen, we'll go all over the black areas that got covered by the gold gel pen. Also, we'll draw some lashes on the eyes of the owl to make it look like a feminine owl. They doesn't have to be perfect. I already cut a piece of acetate and added some wonder tape to it. Now we'll stick it to the inside of the front of my card, covering the window I created before. Then we'll add 2 layers of foam tape from Scotch all around the window, making sure I do not leave any gap between each piece of tape, so that my beads cannot escape. I added some seed beads from dynamites in clear iridescent and clear silver, removed the backing paper from my tape and added another piece of acetate to it, so that you can see the inside of the card through the shaker window. Now we'll glue my images, trying to do not add too much adhesive in the areas that are going to be over the acetate, only to the areas that will stick to the cardstock. Since the twig was pretty small and I wanted to secure it very well, I added adhesive all over it. Then I cut another frame and glued it inside the card using my wonder tape, covering the foam tape from my shaker window. This will make it look finished and prettier, since in this particular card, the inside of it is a very important part of the final design. Since I stick the shaker to the inside of the card, instead of stick it to the front of the card, the back of the card is bending a little. So I scored it to give it more space. Now the back of the card is a little shorter than the front, which doesn't really bothers me, but you can avoid it if you plan it before you start making the card. I finished my card stamping some little stars in gold, which I didn't stamp perfectly, so I went over them with my gold gel pen. I stamped them creating a visual triangle, stamping some on the inside of the card and some on the outside. Finally, I stamped the phrase "Merry and Bright" using my archival ink in jet black on the inside of my little note card, which provides me enough space to write my message. I really love the effect the window shaker gives to a card, where the inside of the card is part of the design on the outside. I think it is a little more work, but at the same time makes the card a little more special. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you are not subscribed yet. Don't forget to visit my blog to see the list of supplies and more close-up pictures. Here are 3 more Christmas cards for you to watch. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!